Hey friends, I hope you're all doing well. Gonna do a crazy different format this time. I was going to make this kind of dramatic and take it out to like a park outside or something and talk about this cool new thing. But I'm not, so I'm gonna do it right here. And so I thought I'd change it up. So what I want to share is kind of like a topic that we've talked about in the past with Claude using MCPs to find the APT. There's another video, right? But this time I want to talk about using a MCP to help you write detection engineering content better, faster, and also take a threat report and parse it, write a report out telling you where you have gaps in your coverage, and things like that. So I wanted to show you my live diagram. Hopefully it's looking okay on video, but we'll see when we go live. All right, pull this down. Here we go. All right, friends. So what we're going to talk about is detection engineering with MCPs and LLMs. Context, context, context. This kind of came up in a conversation on Twitter about, hey, like AI can't write good KQL. Yeah, it can't, right? Like if you say write a KQL, which it has no context. You're asking it to go off of some knowledge that may or may not even have. If you're using something like Cursor, and this is what I recommend: use Cursor. Provide web access, let it go query the web, do its thing, but this time we're going to change the game by giving it an MCP. Now, so this particular MCP is released. I'm going to pull this up because this is cool. All right, so this new MCP I'm sharing, you can pass it a threat report, you can ask it a question, you can give it a link if you're using Cursor, you can have it do something. But the idea is that you have this thing, an MCP index or a database. It will, by default, it accepts ESCU, Sigma, Elastic, and if you want, you can throw some KQL projects in there and have it index it. The biggest factor with this particular database is its normalized content. So if you normalize it to a standard, it allows for you to query it. It allows for the LLM to query the content in the database. Now, this particular database is just a SQLite. It allows for the LLM to semantically search it. There's a bunch of tools in it, and we'll get into that in the demo, but that's kind of the power of this with using an MCP, granting it access to a database of all this content. One of the fields is the query. So now your LLM has the query and can find and see between the three different projects, Sigma, Elastic, and Splunk, and write you a similar query as to what you're normally used to. So if you take your KQL and give it access or normalize it into the database, it's not a hard schema, normalize into the database, you can also do the same thing with KQL. You could do it with EQL, whatever language you want to use. But it's the same concept. There's nothing crazy. Anyway, so you give it the index. It uses the database to search all across this type of data. The LLM does all the reasoning, Claude or GPT, whoever you want to use. Now the goal, right, is to be able to, sorry for my beautiful artwork behind this, take that threat report or whatever you want it to do to search for in this content, find hits, match content. Do I have coverage in my content? So if you're using KQL or whatever one, do I have coverage? Is there gaps? Have it write a report at the end. Give me a markdown report. And then at the bottom here, with all my art, you could also have it validate by querying using another MCP to query, say, your Splunk server or Elastic or whatever it is. Query the server, validate the query works. If it doesn't, come back. It will iterate. Claude or GPT can iterate on the content, validate it actually works or not. The other cool thing you can do is if you have like the Atomic Red Team MCP, you can kick that off as well. If you have a remote machine that's ready to go, have it start kicking off atomics, generate the data to your log system, and then have the queries get tested again and pull back. And then now you're down into tuning and iterating over that particular content. Full life cycle of your detection engineering process. And all you had to do was create a really cool MCP index. Maybe the most complicated way to do it, but that's okay, because why not? We got to engineer it, right? So anyway, that's just the intro to the video, and it's probably gonna look funny because I had to do the vertical and I do horizontal, but yeah, why don't we hop into an actual demo and check this thing out, and I will show you some reports live that I've created with it, give you the link to the repo and all that fun stuff. See you on the other side.
All right, friends, we're back. All right, so as we walk through our sweet in real life mermaid diagram, changing gears now, obviously, we're over here now on the repo. So it's under mHaggis, typical location. It's just under security detections MCP. If you have a better idea for a cooler name, ship it, and then we can rename it and go from there. So yeah, this is again MCP to help defenders detection engineer harder and smarter. So hunt harder, hunt smarter. Is that the slogan? Anyway, an MCP. So you have hopefully seen my Claude using the Splunk MCP to query and find and hunt evil. Now you're going to be creating a database of detections or of all of these different groups as analytics and query it with an MCP. So giving the LLM all of this detection logic and pump out really cool things to help you do your job better and faster. So that's where it all kind of spans and rolls, right? So yeah, so this is the features. There is a bunch of tools in here. Let's scroll down. So it's as simple as this. If you're using an MCP, Claude Desktop, or Cursor, highly recommend the Cursor. There's a button right here, add the cursor. But this is what it would look like in your JSON file. And you will want to download the tools, and then map them here. You want to map the rules one and rules threat hunting. Those are the two that I was told by the great Nas to add. And then for Splunk, just give it the whole detections. Elastic, same thing, just give it the rules directory. And then also for Splunk, if you want, you can pass it to stories. It just provides context and additional data as far as like the threat. Claude Desktop, same thing, breaks down what these are for. We talked about that. So here, if you want to download the rules, I give you this here. I realize after the fact that folks might be actually on Windows. So sorry, Windows folks, but maybe run a Mac or Linux. Just kidding. Ask Claude. And then, yeah, you could obviously fully clone everything. So the tools, once you install the MCP, it comes with a ton of tools that the MCP or that the LLM can use. Most importantly is search. It will search the data in the database. Yay. If you have a detection ID or an ID from like the Splunk stuff, you can pass that. If it has that also related to like Sigma and things like that, it'll pull out the IDs as long as it's all normalized. And that's the biggest thing here is all of this content gets normalized into a single standard. So it's easy for the LLM to query across all of them. Hey, show me all the queries related to the word PowerShell. It can semantically search for PowerShell across all three different types and tell you and or show you the number of them or show you the actual written content related to them. So that's the biggest difference here is that normalization. It does have the actual YAML. It pumps out stats. I added MITRE. So if you want to search by, hey, show me everything related to like T1059001, it'll go off and do that. Or if you tell it the actual tactic, it can pull up content related to that. Whatever you want to look for. CVEs, most of the content that's in there from these three projects have CVEs. Try to extract out process names so that it can semantically search faster and better. Same with data source. Data source is a good one too. I'd look at the stats on that one and see how much is in there. And you can classify all the different classifications. You can literally just ask it all these powerful things. And so on the database side, just so you're aware, if you want to know how it works, right? The database has this normalized content and there's just tables and columns. That's all this is, right? There's just a header and it knows where to search and find this stuff. Questions you can ask, right? Do we have detections for the CVE? What detections do we have for cred dumping? Things like that. How many, one I was using earlier was show me all of the web server process names I have across these platforms or across Sigma, things like that. You could pull up some really cool stuff. Tell me about ransomware. The other one that I'm going to demo is just using, hey, show me or create a threat report like we talked about on the whiteboard or paperboard. Give me a threat report related to this particular threat, write it in a markdown file, and I want to, know about new content that I need to write regarding it. Core fields, this is the schema here. This is what it uses. This is the semantic search fields. And yeah, that's the cache for the database location in case you forget it. One of the tools I will call out here is say you update the content and you're like, yay, I got this new CVE or new threat thing added. It should be in the database, right? Good to go. Well, there's a particular tool you will want to run. I think it's rebuild. Yeah. It does have a rebuild MCP tool. Actually, let's go ahead and switch on over to Cursor. That's where I have this running, and we can just geek out of this live. So pull it up, detections MCP. I'm just going to flip over into Cursor settings, go to the MCP, and you'll see here, security detections. It does have a rebuild index. So if you add new things or you add a new parser for a new, like KQL, you add a parser for KQL, it will build, you want to rebuild your index so that it will show up and be fresh. So that's that. All right. So on the right, I already had to do some things. Can you check if we have content coverage for this Mandiant blog and use the MCP? So this is the React to Shell. And basically, Claude just ripped through looking for content related to like React. It's doing all of its semantic searching. As you can see, it's querying for different types of malware samples or names that were found in the blog, and it's going to find that it wasn't in there. So it's like, hey, you got good coverage, and this is across Elastic, Splunk, and where's Sigma? I don't see Sigma in there. And then it'll high level all the things. So I was like, make a new directory, drop in a report. I like this because when you get the reports written like this, it tells you everything we just read and saw that Claude did, but also, hey, I need you to write content, basically write content similar to what we have, say, for Splunk. So use T-stats, use the data model, and all of this, to me, the quickest pass that I could see, this will work right now if I pass it, mainly because it has all the correct fields. It's dropping the data model properly. So this is going to work right here. There is a lookup I see. Is this one old or new? Oh, yeah, these are just recommended, Claude's recommended detection. So I'd say all this would work. There might be some fixing and changing based on the EDR and or way of collection, say for Splunk, the way of collection for process names for Linux. So this would need to probably be reviewed. But that brings up the next thing we talked about. What did we say over there? Validate. So using a MCP, another MCP, by granting Claude over here on the right, another MCP, Claude can go and hit Splunk or Elastic or some other tool and validate that that content works. Whether it finds something or not, Claude will typically iterate over making sure that this process name field, something in here matches, and then making sure like the command line field, something will match on that as well, so that you know what you will ship will work more or less. And similarly, all of these you can kind of copy and paste and run and test. Probably the biggest thing I'm not sharing here is, as a defender who's working with like an MCP that's drafting content like this, you do want to have this in your format and your like methodology and the way you draft and write your queries or draft and write like your YAML files that contains all this data. I would recommend, we're not going to cover it today, but I do have what's called Claude skills. Now you can create a skill just for how you want your content written. You could tell Claude, don't write content like this, but write content like this. You can also grant Claude better access to like the company, like say Splunk docs. You can give him a docs repo and have him be able to use that context query. Oh, does the file system data model actually have these fields? If so, yay, I'll add it, kind of thing. Like I said, I believe most all of these do work. The only thing I don't, this is why I brought it up, I do not like this. I don't like putting lookups and this where clause thing right here. Like, why don't we just add that to the top and call it good? But anyway, yeah, I don't like doing wheres down here and the kind of queries and stuff. So just something you can do too is, like I said, you could literally just ask Claude, write a skill for better detection writing, content writing, and Claude can put it in the skills directory thing for you. And then now he understands how you want these written. Okay, so anyway, that's the first one I did. The second one I did is right here. Take this checkpoint blog that just came out, find content, things that were missing, write a doc again. So tons and tons and tons of queries. He also got stuck. So I was like, yo, you want to make that report? And then bam, came out with the report. This one's kind of funny because across the board, say for Splunk, we don't have a lot of Linux content. So in a way, this is a really good use case for a detection engineer to go and say like, all right, I need to write stuff. So I guess real quick, coverage analysis, you can see we got Elastic in here, we got some Sigma, got some Splunk, where they actually fit, and then partial, and then the no coverage. There's a lot of no coverage, I think, across the board. The blog just came out. Not everybody looks for all these different things. The one thing, again, is if I had a Claude skill in here, I would definitely tell it that, follow my format of how I want my content written. So like, for instance, you don't need to double tap LD preload like this. Like, this is going to catch export. This is going to catch everything else. So decide which one are we going for here. Anyway, content writing 101. So as you can see, Claude actually wrote 15 new queries in here, which is extremely impressive. It's a lot of content, and then breaks it down by MITRE, where we have or don't have coverage, and then his high priority list, and how to do detection testing. That's actually another really good MCP point we talked about on the paper. Another one could be atomic red team. Connect the atomic red team MCP. So now you have, hey, I don't have coverage, so let me write an atomic test, test the atomic test, goes to your log aggregation point, hit your MCP, have Claude hit it, query the server, get the data, pull it down, iterate over, and make sure the query is written correctly based all on that. So yeah, that's a lot. What else? I also want to share that this is also the first time I've written something and put it up on NPM here on their registry. So same thing, you can install this through here. If you install it like that, it's really easy. All you have to do is go into Cursor or your Claude and then just write that in there. Put the paths where you want it, where they're at, and that's all you have to do. Actually, I'm sorry, you don't have to run this. All you have to do is copy paste the Cursor IDE piece here or the Claude desktop piece, and it uses the command and arguments. I'm sorry. So yeah, this is actually really, really easy if you want to do that. So yeah, I hope you found this really interesting. Again, check out the project. It's on GitHub, Security Detections MCP. I think we mentioned everything, but I hope that this sparks interest. Maybe the question will come up, but yeah, I wrote this with Claude. Like I had written a prior one that wasn't as cool or as sexy, I guess. And so what I ended up doing this time was actually like making it more operationalized and a lot cooler. So yeah, check it out. Add it to Cursor, add it to your Claude desktop, and start ripping some sweet content. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this. I hope you learned something. I hope detection engineers start to ramp up their MCP usage. Don't be afraid of it. Realize that this is here to make us better and faster, and give it a shot. Let me know what you think.